Hi, Carol.
Hi.
My name is Diane. I am a student at CCBC, and I'm going to be asking you some questions today about what brought you in. Um, it's going to take about 20 to 30 minutes, um, and this video will be posted on YouTube, and I just need to make sure that it's okay with you that it's posted on YouTube for my teacher to see.
Sure. Why not?
Okay. But first, let's talk about why you're here today.
Well, they say I was drunk and driving. I mean, I had a few drinks, but I wasn't drunk, okay? I drink a little bit of peach schnapps and a peach brandy or something, just a couple little glasses, and I had to go pick up my grandson and everything, and because he's 24 and he was in a position where he didn't want to be there, so I had to go pick him up. And so I had picked him up and took him home and was on my way back home when I got pulled over.
Okay.
They said I was driving erratically.
Okay. And how long have you been drinking for?
I started drinking probably when I was around 13 or 14 or something in middle school. You know, went to Edgewood Middle School and high school and everything. And I had moved from the city when I was 11, and I didn't have any friends. And then suddenly I had friends if I drank with them. So, so didn't do any drugs at the time or anything like that. And I tried smoking weed, but I'm just not a smoker. I didn't do that well, but I could drink. And peach brandy and peach schnapps and peach wine, they're my favorites. So, and I don't drink much, just a little bit, um, to be friendly.
How often do you drink?
Probably every day now.
Every day.
Just a little.
Just a little. How much is a little?
I have a little cup, this little fancy glass that I use, and I drink out of that. And I just drink maybe two of those. I never drink the whole bottle at one time. The one bottle went less than 3 days or so. They don't hold a whole lot. And sometimes I have somebody drinking with me, which is.
Okay. Um, let's see. So, you said that you drink pretty much every day these days. Do you drink alone? Do you drink with friends?
Most of the time I'm alone these days. Unlike in high school when I was with somebody all the time. I do work part-time, and I do try to maintain, some kind of a lifestyle. And with my family and all, I have 4 grown children and 11 grandchildren, 5 great-grandchildren. So, I have a nice-sized family. I don't see them all the time by any means. They're all over the country. I even have a grandson that lives in California. But the ones that are around I see. And my cousins, I have a lot of big family with cousins and stuff. We've always been close and all. But most of them don't drink. And most of them, give me lectures and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, so let's talk about you growing up. Well, first off, how old are you?
I'm 73 years old.
73. Okay. And do you have any siblings?
I do. I had one brother who passed away um, 7 years ago in August.
No other siblings?
No siblings, just my cousins, or like siblings in many ways. And I do have my children, my girls, especially I have 3 girls, and they've been through a lot themselves, all 3 of them. But I'm good. I have my family, and I have God to a degree, and I try to stay with that, with my faith. It's just that I've gotten so depressed. I've gotten so down. I've gotten so where I don't even know who I am, or I don't like who I am, and I don't like the things that I do, or the things that I say, or the things that I think, and I just feel left out. Nobody cares, you know. It's like sometimes I'm afraid that I'm gonna die while I'm sleeping and nobody's even gonna know it.
I'm sorry you feel that way.
It's very, very disheartening, you know. But, you know, I'm a strong woman. I've been through a lot. I've been married twice. Um, the first husband chased after teenage girls, and really, I was really in love with him. I really wanted to make a marriage with him. I have 2 children with him, and he just, I don't know, he just was too young, I guess, maybe to be a part of the marriage at the time. Later in life, he tried to come back, and I wouldn't let him, but it might would have worked if I'd let him, because he'd grown up a lot by then. But I was still angry, you know, that he cheated on me, and then I cheated on him just to get even with him. And then we got divorced, and I got married a second time, and I married a narcissistic psychopath, and took my children into a nightmare environment that I will never forgive myself for. He could have killed us all. That's the kind of person he was. And he already had places planned out to bury us, to get rid of us, especially me. He was turning it on me. He told me he had a friend here in Maryland, and Jimmy, and he had a junkyard. And Jimmy is a good, decent man. He has 4 beautiful children. They were young at the time, like our children were. And he ran his business, and he was friends with Walt. Now, Walt to other people was a whole different person. He wasn't the same person that came home to me. People loved Walt. He did things for them, you know. But when he came home, he was a monster. And he go after my kids, and I would not let him. And you know, I took a couple beatings for it a few times. I even ran away one time trying to get away from him, and the neighbors called the police, and the police came and said that I needed to stay in the house when I'm fighting with my husband because I'm upsetting the neighborhood. Yeah. And everything. And I got the nerve, the strength from God, I guess, to leave. And these things give me nightmares sometimes. I can still hear his voice saying things to me that were mean. You know, like, you're the stupidest woman to ever sit behind a pair of shoes, you know? I can hear his voice say the words. But then I hear myself say, you're absolutely right. But I'm not stupid anymore. I'm done. I said those words to him. And then, to his dismay, I meant it. He tried to get me to change my mind many times. More than 1 or 2. Many times. He would call me, he would talk to me, he would come around before he left and went back to Arkansas. He would, they need love. They need lots of love. And he would try to get me to go back, and I was not. My children deserve better, and I deserve better. And I've been single for 35 years. I thought about finding someone else a couple times, but that didn't work out for me either. Sweet kitty, I love you. You really have to get down. Please, pretty please with sugar on top. And so I've been alone. I've finished raising my children. I worked 2 jobs to do it.
And where is your, you divorced?
I divorced, and he went back to Arkansas, and he got married again. And he passed away a few years ago. So I had one boyfriend after that, and he's passed away too. So all my exes are in heaven now. that's where I wish him to be. I don't have any hard feelings, any grudges. Um, what happened with Walt gave me strength, made me stronger. Now they call me a bitch because they can't get over on me. I stand up for myself better than I ever did in my entire life. And I like that person. I like who I am. I just need to, let go of some of the other stuff.
You said that you lived in Baltimore City and that you've lived in Edgewood. Were you born in Maryland?
I was born in Baltimore City, Maryland. I grew up on a little street called Matthew Street over by the Baltimore Stadium area. My family bought a house in Joppatown, brand new house. We were the first people to ever live in it, which was very cool. I had my own bedroom, which my parents always made sure my brother and I were taken care of. I know now, I didn't understand then, but they went hungry many times so that the two of us could eat. They never had it easy. They were struggling all the time. And then my father hooked up with a woman very young, and not much younger, that much older than me at the time. And she had children, and he took better care of them than he did anybody else. But anyhow, that caused a lot of hurt feelings, but I still loved my dad. And I was with him when he passed away. I was with my mother when she passed away. So
you had a good relationship with both of your parents?
For the most part. My mother was an angry person all of her life. She grew up very, very poor, very hard. And so she was angry a lot. She would grit her teeth and say mean little nasty things all the time,
Was she ever diagnosed with any mental disorders?
No, but I can tell you now that having seen my children have been diagnosed with, and grandchildren, a few of them have been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, something that during the 60s was not something I think that was known about or thought about. But my mother could be very, very sweet and loving and nice and pleasant, and it was a wonderful person to be around. And then she would go off this deep end side like that, and you wouldn't recognize her. I mean, she even told my brother one time that I beat her up, and the only thing that saved him from beating me up was my kids were there and saw it. And so that she attacked me, I didn't attack her.
Mm.
But that was her downside.
Right.
That was her downside. But she didn't mean it. It was not her fault. It wasn't her fault.
What about your dad? Did he have was he ever diagnosed with any mental disorders?
Not that I'm aware of. My dad was a pretty even-leveled man, a hard-working man. He went to work every day, even if he was sick. He even drove himself to the hospital when he had his heart attack that almost killed him. He was just that kind of a person. I stayed with him a lot, taking care of him when he was dying, basically. After he had his surgery and stuff, and he tried to get himself back together, but he just didn't make it.
What about any substance use issues? Did either of your parents have any substance abuse issues?
Any what kind of issues?
Substance abuse.
My dad was an alcoholic. My dad was a working alcoholic. He drank to the day he died. We tried to take it, but we took it away from him for a while. And then when I realized that he, on top of everything else, and he had cancer, I said, why am we taking this away from him? He's dying anyhow. Why should he die miserable? If the alcohol made him feel better, let him have it.
Okay.
let him have all he wanted of it because he's not going to last any longer with it or without it.
Right.
And at least, you know, sometimes when you're unhappy and you're miserable, it makes you're not going to last as long.
Right.
As if you're having what makes you happy, you might last a few days longer. Every day was a blessing. And I was there when he passed away.
Okay. And you said that you've been married twice,
I have.
and so you are heterosexual.
I am.
About how old were you when you became sexually active?
3 days before I got married. The first time. He talked me into it. And I didn't like it. I thought, something's got to be wrong because everybody's always doing this and all these videos and all this thing. And I don't like it. So he was new at it, and I was very new at it. So I don't think he and I ever really got good at it. My doctor, when I went to him a dozen times, he finally said, look, I want to tell you something to do. I want you to go out and find a man and have sex. I want you to find out what sex is all about. Every man does not have sex the same way. Go out and find someone. And I'm like, oh. And then I had this man that was pursuing me. And anyhow, I was, pretty much ignoring him most of the time. So I just went ahead and had sex with him. And it wasn't so bad. It wasn't perfect, but it wasn't bad. And we got better after time. And then we ended up divorced Bill, and he divorced his wife, which is an ugly thing to say and a horrible thing to live with. You never want to do it. Don't ever, ever be the cause of someone leaving, even if they're the ones that pursued you. Doesn't matter. You have to walk away when a man is married. No period. And I didn't. And I regretted it. I was with this man for 10 years, and he made my life and my children's life hell. And I was afraid he was going to kill my children. Or worse, maybe he was going to kill me and leave them with nobody. Even my son had nightmares over it. And I knew I had to let go. I had to get rid of him. I had to walk away. But no matter what it cost, and I did, finally. And I've been single for, 30-something, close to 40 years now.
You said you have your children in your life. You have your children in your life.
I have my children.
And your grandchildren.
I do have grandchildren. My son doesn't talk to me, but he's got 2 children. I don't know if they have children or not. I'm not close to him. And I have Swan lives in Arkansas, where she took care of her father before he passed away. And I was very angry at her a little further because she took my last grandbaby, my little Emma, to Arkansas, far away from me, for him. And she says to me, well, Mom, it's his only granddaughter. Because he had 4 other daughters from a previous marriage, and they all had boys. And I said, well, Janice deserves a little granddaughter, but he doesn't. And he doesn't deserve mine. But that's neither here nor there. It's all forgiven and forgotten.
What about friends? Do you have any friends?
I had some close friends a few years, when the kids were young and stuff. But I have co-workers that I sometimes used to go out with occasionally. But mostly nobody. I'm just very much alone. Me and my Bible and my bottle.
You said that you work part-time. Where do you work?
Home Depot.
At Home Depot. What do you do at Home Depot?
I sell appliances.
How long do you work there?
33 years.
33 years. And what about before that? What other kind of work have you done?
I worked at Sherwin-Williams as an assistant manager when I was married to Walt. And I worked at Burger King and McDonald's. And I clean houses for people. I'm a very clean person, you know, and I can, you know, when I clean well. My mother was very particular about it, which when I was growing up, and my father was too. If my father would walk in after I washed dishes, and he would check them, and if he saw one dish that had a smudge on it or looked like it wasn't washed right, he'd take all the dishes and put them back on the other side, and I had to wash them all over again with him standing there watching me. So, and then if he came home from work, and him and my mother came home, especially my mother, and I was supposed to run the vacuum cleaner or scrub the kitchen floor or dust the furniture, whatever little things she left for me to do that day when I got home from school. If it wasn't done to their satisfaction, I had to do it all over again. So therefore, I mean, and I have a terrible bad habit, and I think it's a bad habit. When I see stuff laying on the floor when I'm walking through the aisles in my store, Home Depot, I pick it up. Because when I was growing up, if I walked past something on the floor that didn't belong there, of course, I didn't pick it up and take care of it, my mother would knock me upside the head.
Mm.
Yeah, she was very picky about that. So I blame her. When somebody at work says, "Why are you picking that paper up like that?" And usually I use a pair of scissors to pick them up, so I'm not actually touching the stuff. And I said, "It's my mother's fault." She taught me to not walk past it. She would stand me in the room and look at the room, and she'd say, "I want you to look at everything in this room. What is what is in places that doesn't belong? What is there that doesn't belong in those spots? I want you to go take them out of that spot and put them where they go. Everything has a place, and you put it in its place.
Place for everything and everything in its place.
Always." And she was very strict about that. She was very strict.
Okay, so let's go back to what brings you here. Now, you said that that you've been drinking. You drink alcohol, and you started when you were about 13, and you started just hanging out with friends. Okay.
I didn't drink a lot in my marriages. Occasionally, I did start smoking for a while when I was married to Walt, and I would hide it from him because he didn't know.
How much would you smoke?
Well, I had a couple friends that smoked, and I didn't smoke a lot. And I started smoking because he'd be driving down the road or doing something, and he'd say, "Light me a cigarette." Well, then you'd light a cigarette, and then before you know it, you want a cigarette.
Right.
So, but I wasn't allowed to smoke.
Yeah.
He didn't allow that. So I would make these little Kool-Aid freezy pops in these little mini cups that go to a little cup dispenser that goes in the bathroom. I would make Kool-Aid cups out of it and freeze them, and then sell them for a quarter a piece or something, and make a little extra money. And he didn't know about it. Then I would take that money. And cigarettes at the time didn't cost but like 35, 40 cents a pack. So, I'd get some cigarettes and stash them and smoke them, and when he wasn't around or whatever. And then if I was lighting a cigarette for him, I would take a couple extra puffs before I gave it to him. That was bad. I finally quit all that. Just cold turkey stopped.
About how long would you say you smoked for?
I don't know, 4 or 5 years, maybe more. Maybe 10, I don't know. Sometimes the years just sort of roll in together and you don't know where one ends and when it begins. Sometimes you can only tell the difference in where things were by the age of your children. And I know that my son was 7. And he was such a little guy. And he was such a sweet, sweet, lovable child. And so smart. And he was say to me, he was afraid I was gonna. He learned something in school about smoking, I think, and he was afraid I was gonna die and leave him with his stepfather. He was terrified. I mean, terrified I was gonna die, and I couldn't not. Haven't thought of this in years. I couldn't not keep smoking and have him afraid.
Right.
I couldn't do that to that child. So I quit smoking. Right then, I didn't smoke another cigarette. Not even one. Not even a puff. I didn't light his cigarettes on me anymore. I didn't do any of it.
You said that you tried smoking weed and you didn't like it. Did you try anything else?
I'm afraid of drugs. When the commercials on TV says, you had a frying pan there, and it says, this is your brain. You put an egg. And you break the egg into the frying pan and say, this is your brain on drugs. And I'm like, I was very young when that was going on. I'm like, thinking myself now, if they still played those kind of commercials on TV, a whole lot of the children may not do drugs. And so I never did anything really heavy. Alcohol is my worst thing right now. I would like to stop it, but at the same time, who cares? I'm 73 years old. You know? I mean,
How does it make you feel when you drink?
warm and relaxed.
And when you don't drink?
I feel everything. I feel like the walls are there. I feel the windows looking at me. I feel separated from things, like I'm in the middle of something, and it's hard to describe. It's just I see everything. I see too much, and drinking helps me like relax.
Have you ever been in any kind of treatment for drinking?
Yes, I had to go to, I was in prison for 6 months because I got 3 DUIs in a row, and that's when I was drinking a lot heavier. And I knew I was drinking a lot heavier because, you know, I would buy 3 bottles on payday, and they were gone by Monday, so I knew I was drinking a lot heavier than that, you know, pretty heavy. And not only that, girlfriends and boyfriends or male friends or what have you would come over, or I'd be there and we'd all be drinking. Because I was a lot younger in those days too. You know, my kids were grown and off living their lives, and that's what you want them to do. You want them to live their life, not have to take care of worrying about you. I did raise a grandson. Didn't do a good job. I messed his life up pretty much, and he's not a bad person. He's an angry person, and he's lazy. I sort of blame that on Bill a little bit. Bill Wilson was the kind of man that would do anything he could to get out of doing anything. If he didn't have to walk to the bathroom, he wouldn't have to. He would not help clean anything. He would not help wash the car. He would not help. He would complain if he had to watch the kids. You know, Diane one time, he was a big heavy Coke drinker. He wasn't an alcoholic or any of that kind of stuff. No drugs. He was a good, decent man. And he would drink a lot of Coke. And Diane was like 2, and she toddled over to his Coke, and it was sitting on a table, and she picked it up, and she took a taste, and she turned around, and she walked away with it. And he like to had a cow. He was like fighting with her. She's 2. And can I say to him, Bill, she's 2. You know? Not 42, not 22, 2. You know, you're fighting with a 2-year-old over a Coke. It's my Coke, and she took it. Give it back, give it back. You know, I'm like,
So you said you did 6 months of jail.
I did. It was not a very good thing. I didn't like it, and I never want to do it again. And that's why I have to come here, because my counselor says that if I talk to you, that I get help to stop drinking at all. I have to give up my peach brandy altogether.
Have you ever been hospitalized for it?
I guess I was. I mean, I didn't remember a lot about it at the time. I remember leaving. I don't remember going there. It was a dark time. My children had all gone off in different directions, living their lives and stuff. But just once.